I think one of the interesting things you guys are doing here is related to fraud prevention. How do you guys stop online fraud?
Right. Well, it's a really important issue for us because anytime you're giving out something for free, there's a possibility that fraud is going to creep into the system and just make your whole product kind of worthless to a retailer. So we looked at some point into using IP addresses, knowing bad IP addresses from users, looking at web browsers, the kind of traditional way to fight fraud. And then we realized we had such a rich set of signals from the social data. So, we have at least from our first campaign from Skype that we know so far, we launched a campaign there where you could, if you liked our brand, you could get a free Skype code. We found that our fraud rates were better than industry average, basically because we had the social data to tell us whether a user was fraudulent or not. So if you think about it, it's really hard for someone to sign up for multiple. It's so easy to sign up for multiple email accounts. I'm sure we all have several. The one that you don't give real people to and things. With the Facebook one, it becomes really apparent which account is real or not real because you have more friends on your real account. You update it to it more often. You get all that data to know how often does someone update their status. What is their profile pic? How many friends do they have? It's such a rich set of data that even though our algorithms we started, I think they're solid. I don't think we've by any means gone to the limits of our social data fraud filtering capability. But because the signals are so strong, we're actually able to get a really good signal.
That's very interesting. Are you using aggregated social data from different social nets, or is this mostly Facebook that is the biggest use, has the biggest use to you right now?
Facebook is the biggest use to us right now because Facebook credits is the most popular incentive that we're offering.
I see.
We have a Twitter product where you can incentivize someone tweeting. We haven't actually used it for social data for fraud filtering right now.
Okay. So if I'm an engineer and I'm building an application and I want to stop online fraud, what's the first thing I should do?
I really think other than just, I think engineers will tend to design an algorithm for it. Instead, think of things that you can do and natural signals out there because, your AI algorithms, as crazy and complicated as they are, they're only going to be as good as your signals. If Facebook Connect is pretty decent. You can check if an account is verified or not. It needs to be verified by a mobile phone number rather than just an email account or something that's easy. Everyone has limited mobile phones. So I consider that. And I would actually really even consider policy things. So rather than that's my tendency is to go with the practical.
One of the interesting things that we talked about before was when you mentioned that the online fraud doesn't always come, it's not always a trickle. It often comes in sort of a blast or like one big storm. Explain that phenomena and what that means.
I think what happens, what happened for a while was that there was a number of people who figured out a credit card number that worked on one of our retailer sites that wasn't a real credit card number. Or maybe it was a stolen credit card number, I don't even know. And it just got out. They must have posted about it in a forum or things like that. So all of a sudden, overnight, we had tons of fraud that came in one big burst. Because what happens is one person figures out how to fraud the system. What's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to spread the word to all their friends. Especially since what we do a lot is Facebook credits. So these are people who play games. They're used to gifting their friends things every day, and they gift it with the ability to fraud. So we'll basically get a big burst of fraud in one night and have to figure out. There have just been times where I've figured out a signal that will get rid of this fraud, and I've pushed it within 10 minutes.
Okay.
So I'm going to change to shut this down. So the first thing you want to do is come up with some kind of control or some kind of velocity control so you can realize when there's a potential for fraud to alert yourself for it, that it could be happening. Because you're not realistically monitoring these things every day.
The velocity of some particular metric or a set of metrics that you're kind of watching across time.
Right. Like a particular campaign just seems to be picking up speed and it's just a little bit suspicious. So that's the first piece to code up, which is difficult. it's not straightforward how to calculate that kind of thing. And then when you go into it, you can look at the data and pretty quickly come up with some kind of signal. I think that's actually the easy part, is coming up with some kind of signal when you look at, as a person, when you look at just 5 or 10 of these fraudulent users, you can usually find some characteristics pretty quickly that they all have in common.